Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Kat. For today's video, I will be doing a reading wrap-up. I will be wrapping up the books I read for April, May, and June. And in total, I read about 15 books. Let's get started. The first books I have are the books in the All for the Game series. This is by Nora Sakovic. I've talked about All for the Game so many times at this point. I sound like a broken record, so I will not go over them, but I'll just go over the ratings. The Foxhole Court, I rated this 4. The Raven King, 4.5. Kingsmen, 6 stars. Sunshine Court and The Golden Raven both got 5.5 stars. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, also the previous review that I did for the first 3 books, this is like one of my all-time favorite series. When you first read it, you do not know what direction you're going. You just gotta trust the author to take you on the wildest, most chaotic journey ever. This book has literally just about everything. Like, it has your good dose of trauma. Speaking of trauma, please check the trigger warnings if you want to read these books. It has mafia, it has the Yakuza, it has a made-up sport called Exy, it has the most amazing found family dynamic, and it has a beautiful, imperfect but beautiful love story between 2 male characters. I really enjoyed it. I cannot wait for the next book to come out. Hopefully, Nora Sakovic, if you're listening to all of our prayers, hopefully the book comes out this year. Then I read I Hunt Killers trilogy by Barry Lyga. This trilogy I have like a very weird relationship with because a part of me did like it. Definitely believe the author did his research very thoroughly, especially when it comes to crime and crime analytics and police procedures and stuff like that. But at the same time, there was some content in here that I just could not get behind. So I'll get into that in just a little bit. Let me just quickly go over the ratings for each book. The first book, I Hunt Killers, I gave this a 3.5 star rating. The second book, Game, I gave a 3.0 star rating. And the third book, Blood on My Blood, I gave a 3.5 star rating. This trilogy is about Jasper Dent, who is the son of a notorious and world-renowned serial killer. Notorious because he's killed over 100 different people, and world-renowned because there are other serial killers who look up to him. Jasper basically grew up in the shadow of his dad. His dad basically taught him everything he knew about killing victims and stalking them, prospecting as they call it, and just how the police work and their procedures and whatnot. So Jasper grew up with a wealth of knowledge when it came to like crime scenes, how to hide a body, and all those things. Jasper grew up thinking this was a normal childhood for him. He didn't know that this is not normal for any kid. It wasn't until he became a teenager and his dad finally was caught and then sent to prison that Jasper realized, whoa, my childhood was not your typical childhood. Jasper now has come to terms with an understanding that people are not objects, they are people and that they matter. There's another side of Jasper that is compelled to kill. Like, there's another side of him, a darker side of him, that's fighting the impulse to see people as objects and to just treat them as objects, manipulate them, and possibly murder them. He is trying to fight that side because he does not want to be like his dad. He does not want to be a serial killer, and he does not want to hurt people. On top of that, there are other serial killers on the loose, and Jasper, through his sheer determination, his wealth of crime knowledge and stubbornness, decides to help the police and the FBI in tracking down these serial killers. I liked these books because of Jasper's character alone. His character was so interesting and intriguing because, again, he's fighting the side that wants to kill, and he's trying to embrace the side that just wants to be a normal teenage boy. The in-depth analysis we get of Jasper's character and his psyche was very interesting, just to get an idea of what it's like to be somebody who grew up with a father like that, you know, like whose life was just bodies and bones and blood. I think the author did a phenomenal job just giving us a deep dive into, again, Jasper's psyche and how he sees the world, his attitude when it comes to people, also his attitude towards the police, because Jasper's dad does not like the police, and he definitely ingrained that hatred for police into Jasper. Now, I do have some problems with these books. First of all, the content is dark and it is mature. These books, as far as I know, they are labeled as YA, but they're not young adult books, guys. They're young adult by age because these characters are teenagers, but the content and the maturity level, it's just not for young adults. I felt uncomfortable reading some of these scenes because it was very dark, and some of these crime scenes were very descriptive. I'd also recommend checking some trigger warnings before reading these books. The pacing in the books was fairly well done. I would say in the third book it slowed down and the pacing was kind of all over the place. You would get some fast-paced scenes and it just takes a step back and slows down, then you're back into a fast-paced scene again. Whereas the first two books, the pacing was more consistent. The characters made some really dumb decisions. Jasper's girlfriend Connie was getting these anonymous texts from somebody who was telling her that, hey, you better meet me in New York or else I'm going to murder your boyfriend. At that time, Jasper was in New York solving another case. Connie was like, no, like, I love this guy. I'm gonna go to New York. I'm just gonna follow this anonymous texter and just go to New York. I have to remind myself that these are teenagers, their frontal lobe has not fully developed, so we just have to have some grace. The thing that really bothered me was a lot of the racial commentary, especially surrounding Connie, who is a Black female character, and Jasper, you might guess, is a white male character. There was so much racial commentary regarding her being Black. It's like her race was put under a microscope. In each of these books, it was something about her race, something about her being Black. I don't know exactly what the author was trying to do here. I think the author was trying to show how Black victims are not, especially Black children, Black female victims of murder, are not subject to media attention as much as white victims are, which is true. But at the same time, I feel like he just went into a whole different direction. I do want to add that the author, Barry Lyga, he is a white male author. And so him making these sort of commentaries or trying to send a message, it has to be intentional. A lot of the racial scenes, it did not further character development or plot. A couple of examples. There's tension between Connie's dad and Jasper. Connie's dad does not approve of Connie dating a white male due to the history between white people and Black people in America. Connie and Jasper completely disregard his concerns. They think he's ridiculous for having these opinions. They don't even try to look at things from his point of view, like his angle. They are very inconsiderate of his view of their relationship. Another example, Jasper's dad did not have any Black victims. He only chose white victims. The reasoning behind it was, we'll just leave it at that. Because Jasper's dad never had any Black victims, Jasper intentionally chose to be in a relationship with Connie because he believed that, oh, Connie is Black, therefore she's safe from me because my dad did not have any Black victims. And if I don't want to be like my dad, I should date a Black woman so she won't be a victim. Like, the fact that you chose Connie because of her race, you know what I mean? And then there was another scene where Jasper's dad, he breaks free from prison, of course, and he kidnaps Connie, and the confrontation between the two was so racially charged. I get it. Jasper's dad is an evil mofo. Like, he's terrible. He's awful. But he was rhyming words with the N-word. And it's like, why do we have this in the book? Jasper's dad was basically trying to rile up Connie just to get like a reaction out of her or something, but it was so excessive. It's like, why? Why do we need to add 2 pages of Jasper's dad rhyming with the N-word? That's what I mean. Like, I don't know what the author was trying to do here, if he was trying to send some sort of progressive message or if he was trying to get something off his chest. It made me uncomfortable, and I don't know if that is the case for other readers, but yeah. Moving on to The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I give this book a 4.0 star rating. This book is kind of like a Sherlock Holmes Watson detective novel, but it takes place in a low magic fantasy world. We have our 2 characters, Din and Anna. Din is like the Watson character, so he's the assistant to Anna, who is a very well-known investigator in this world. They're investigating cases of trees spontaneously erupting from people's bodies, killing them in the process. So they're trying to figure out, how are these trees getting inside these people's bodies, and if this is actually connected to a much larger conspiracy. I actually started this book off before All for the Game, but I just could not get into it, and then I read All for the Game, and then I read I Hunt Killers trilogy, and then I got back to this book and enjoyed it way more. So something about reading 8 books in between that got me to really, really enjoy this book way more than I started off with. I liked this world that Robert Jackson Bennett created. I liked the use of biomagic and the way it was implemented into his world building. A lot of these characters, they are able to alter their bodies or their minds through different types of biomagic. I did like the writing style, although there was a lot of swearing. I typically don't really like books that have a lot of swearing. It just feels excessive at times. I did like the characters Din and Anna. Anna is depicted to be neurodivergent. She gets overstimulated very quickly, so she prefers to be in her house, not go outside to solve cases. Instead, she sends Din to collect information about the cases and bring it to her, and she's able to solve it that way. She also does wear a blindfold due to overstimulation. Din is depicted to be dyslexic, so words look very wobbly to him. I think the way the author depicted the neurodivergent character and the dyslexic character was well done. It's not like a flaw, but it's something that becomes their strength. There's also like the tiniest splash of romance between Din and another male character. I'm hoping the second book has a little bit more romance. I do have to say that Din is kind of a flat character. There wasn't a lot of growth to him, which sucked because this whole book is from his point of view. But overall, I had a good time. I enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for book 2. And I read Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. I gave this book a 4.0 star rating. As a lot of you know, this is a graphic novel depicting Nick and Charlie's life in high school as teenagers. Not only that, but also their relationship and their feelings for each other. Alice Oseman has not disappointed. This is the second book I've read of hers, and she's done a wonderful job, especially with the art. I think she is a wonderful artist. The artwork is so cute, really captured a lot of the cuteness and the innocence of the feelings that these characters have for each other, and just like the high school crush vibes. I think she did a wonderful job in terms of not just the artwork, but also storytelling. There's not much I had to say about this. It was a good read. It was a short read. I finished it in under an hour. After that, I have The Shifter Romances, The Writer. This is book 6 in the Nocturne Falls series. I give this book a 2.5 star rating. The books in the series, you honestly don't know what you're going to get. So far, there's only one book in the series, and I think it was the second book that I actually liked. I gave that one a 4.0 star rating, and the other books have fell flat. They've all been like under 3 stars. I'm really second guessing if I should even continue with this series, but I have all the books in the series. Like, I bought all of them because I'm an impulsive buyer. Shifter Romances, The Writer is basically about Officer Alex Cruz and Roxy, who is a paranormal romance writer. She just moves into the town of Nocturne Falls, and Alex is a panther shifter. As you can guess, Roxy and Alex, they fall for each other, but Alex has to keep his identity as a panther shifter hidden. It was another insta-love, insta-lust story, which is a running theme in all the Nocturne Falls books that I've read so far, so that did not surprise me. As a result, the romance relationship was very underdeveloped. The writing, so simplistic to the point of being juvenile. I, again, do not know why I continue the series, but since I bought it like an idiot, I feel obligated to read it too. Again, the writing was very shallow, very surface level. So were the characters. There's no personal development. There's no growth whatsoever. A lot of the problems that the characters encounter were solved very conveniently. For example, Roxy, now that she's in love with Alex, realizes that she wants to be a panther shifter as well, but she's human. She does learn that there's a spell that can turn humans into a panther shifter, but it will harm them. So she's like, well, damn, I can't be a panther shifter. And then, lo and behold, we realize that, oh, Roxy is not actually fully human. She has some witch blood. Therefore, the spell will work perfectly fine on her. Things just resolved so conveniently to the point of being unrealistic, but hey, it's a freaking town full of supernatural characters. You gotta suspend your disbelief. Also, Alex is depicted to be of Mexican descent, and his mom, who comes to visit him, is a Mexican lady, and she was portrayed in the most stereotypical way possible. It was It was kind of weird on the author's part, I'm just saying. After that, I read another trilogy that's also a favorite of mine, or has become a favorite of mine, and that is the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Pacat. Captive Prince, I gave this a 4.0 star rating. Princess Gambit, I gave a 4.5 star rating. King's Rising, I also gave a 4.5 star rating. Captive Prince basically follows two princes of two rival kingdoms. We have Prince Laurent and Prince Damianos. And Prince Damianos gets kicked out from his kingdom because his half-brother becomes king, kicks him out, and sends him to become a slave for Prince Laurent. Prince Laurent does not know that he is the rival kingdom's prince. So Prince Damianos goes by Damon and hides his identity. The All for the Game to Captive Prince pipeline is real. I feel like I should have read Captive Prince after All for the Game to cure that hangover. So if anybody is having a book hangover after catching up with All for the Game, read Captive Prince. I loved these characters. There was so much growth with these characters. I truly loved how much they developed individually and how much they developed and healed together. They both have so much trauma that they had to discover about each other, but also heal from. And I think it was done in the most beautiful way. I think the author is really good at what they do, and I'm really glad I read this series. I loved how intelligent these characters are. So Laurent, he is sharp. His mind is his weapon. That's how he gets out of a lot of situations. That's how he's able to dodge a lot of situations. He is really, really intelligent. He looks at everything and everyone strategically, and he can also strip you down with his words alone. The amount of times he just ripped into people, oh my God, it was painful. I felt bad for these people, even though some of them deserved it. Damon, he is so strategic with his knowledge in leadership and the battlefield and war and training. Like, he just knows what it means to be a leader. He knows what it means to be on the battlefield. He understands like the environment, what is good terrain, what is bad terrain, and they both work together to defeat their common enemies. However, it is dark. The first book is pretty dark and to some extent kind of graphic. So please read trigger warnings before you get into these books. I thought these books were young adults, and that is my bad because I judged it based off of these covers. These covers give me like young adult vibes, but they are not young adult. They're actually adults, and they're labeled as such online as well. There are also some spicy scenes in the second and third book. Did not see that coming because, again, my ignorant ass thought this was young adult. The spicy scenes were well done. There was so much emotion and vulnerability entwined in these spicy scenes. It wasn't just two characters who are lusting after each other and there's just this physical act. They were also showcasing their insecurities and their vulnerabilities and just navigating that together. So there was so much more depth to these spicier scenes. I finished off by reading The Summer Palace, which is a collection of short stories. These are 4 short stories that take place during the Captive Prince trilogy. The first short story I gave a 3.0 star rating to. It just basically follows one of Laurent's captains and his love story. I thought it was done okay. I didn't really think much of it. I wish it was fleshed out a little bit more. The second short story I gave 3.5 star rating to. This short story follows the events after the third book and is a little bit more romance between Damon and Laurent. The third one I gave a 2.5 star rating to. It followed one of Damon and Laurent's friends, which is a cloth merchant named Maurice. I think that's his name. I didn't really think it was necessary to write this short story. It was just kind of like a comical adventure between all 3 characters. The fourth one I gave a 4.0 star rating to. It basically follows one of the palace pets named Ansel, and he was a very interesting character. I hope there's like a book about him or something that's written in the future because he would definitely be deserving of his own book. That's all I have. If you've read any of these books, please let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're reading right now. Overall, I think I had a really good 3 months. I read some amazing, life-changing books, and I had just a great time. So let me know how your reading year is going so far. If you've stuck around for this entire video, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I hope you guys all take care of yourselves, please. It's very important, especially right now. There are lots of big changes happening. It's a scary world, so it's important to take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional well-being. So take care of you and take care of those around you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!